Hey guys, what's up? So the new Deus Ex game has just been announced. We've seen a trailer. I think it was a cineastic trailer. I don't think all that stuff in the trailer was actually gameplay or like in-engine or something, but it looked absolutely fantastic. I'm a huge fan of the Deus Ex franchise. I love the story behind it, all these human augmentations and this really dark dystopian future vision. Awesome, blown away by the trailer. So I thought I'd do a video in which I look at the actual in-game screenshots that have been released together with you guys, and then go through all the details that have been released in the Game Informer title story, because that's how the news broke. Apparently Game Informer got this story exclusive. So let's get right into it. 6 screenshots have been revealed and they look absolutely awesome. Let's look at the first one right here. We can already see the graphic has been stepped up quite a bit. It just looks fantastic, but you can still see that I think it's based on the previous engine. It's just quite an upgrade visually. You can see the guys walking on some kind of stilts there, which probably makes him run faster, which makes him more of a threat. So once the enemies spot you, they can probably get to you quicker, and that brings you in more trouble. So that's quite cool. I'm not sure whether these stilts are actually kind of augmented into him or whether he can take them off. I'm not sure. But also like all the light and shadow play on his suit, on his arm, you know, and all that stuff just looks absolutely fantastic. Second screenshot, bit more of an explosion motion blur scene going on. We can see these barrels falling off the top, which again kind of indicates some physics implementation, but I guess the previous title had that already. We can see that this is the same assault rifle as in the previous screenshot. The whole thing seems to happen in some kind of grow house or something, like a glass house type of thing. I don't know if that gives anything away, but again, it looks absolutely awesome. I'm sure I'm missing 1,000 points in this because I'm just literally looking at these images for the first time as well. Third image, I mean, look at the detail on this enemy and also like his suit. It's just very much, also you can see it in the trailer, all this kind of stealth design based on triangles and stuff is just such a nice visual language that they have taken from the previous game and put it into this one. It just really evolved it into the next level. In the back you can see like all this really grimy detail. If you remember, Deus Ex Human Revolution looked quite clean, I think because they wanted to create an open world and they were just limited in terms of like detail and griminess that they could put into it, and it seems like they really solved this issue this time. Everything has much more character, everything is a bit more used and dirty, and I think that's just really what the game needed. I mean, I love the previous game, but it's definitely a really useful addition. The soldier itself, the enemy that you see here, just looks absolutely brilliant. The little drone hovering there on the top with the police marking on it. We can see that he's fighting the policeman, and we're gonna get into that later on when we're actually looking at all the details that have been revealed. By the way, if you see anything in these screenshots that I've missed, just leave that in the comment section down below. Going to the next screenshot, and this is actually something that's really cool, because I read this already in some of the details they have revealed, that there is a location that is based on Kowloon Wall City. I've spoken about that in a previous video. If you have no idea what Kowloon Wall City is, then Google it, because it's like the main inspiration for worlds of Blade Runner and all these kind of dark dystopian futuristic cities where it always rains and there's no daylight and stuff. So Kowloon Wall City has been the inspiration for this location. Obviously it very much speaks that language, and I just can't wait. And again, this is in engine. It just demonstrates so well how they stepped it up like a big notch from the previous game. I also love how they put on the left there these little fluoro tubes over that little angel statue or whatever it is. Absolutely awesome. I love it. It's such a cool science fiction vision. I can't wait to play this game. Next one, again, very much Kowloon Wall City, very much Blade Runner, and it nearly looks like a piece of concept art, but it is in engine. I mean, I'm sure they tweaked it a little bit. Despite these screenshots officially having been leaked, I still think they have been prepared and carefully worked up to look the best they can, but everything in here is just awesome. The reflection on the floor looks perfect, the smoke looks great, and it's just really like something that you would find in like dark back alleys somewhere in Hong Kong. I just love the whole feeling of it, and little details like the buckets that are there to kind of pick up the water that drops from the ceiling and all that kind of stuff. It's just such a nice device to tell this kind of really dystopian, futuristic story. I don't know if this is actually in Hong Kong. All the writing on the signs is not in Chinese, so I would assume it's probably somewhere else. I don't know at this point if they have revealed the locations. There were some city names in the trailer. One of them was Hong Kong, there was also Montreal, and there was Paris. So it might be Hong Kong, it might be one of the other locations. And then again, these locations might not at all be the ones in the game, who knows? But I think it looks very much like Hong Kong, despite all the writing not being Chinese. Jumping to the next screenshot, and that shows a close-up of the gun. It looks like we can modify our gun, so obviously we can change the type of ammunition we want to use. We can change the scope. This rifle, in the previous screenshot, we've seen it with a red dot on top. This one seems to be some kind of zoom scope or some kind of sniper scope, I'm not entirely sure, but it's definitely a different one than the previous screenshots. You can attach a silencer, which you already could in the previous game, but it was a slightly different mechanic. You could only mod your gun, and once you modded it, I don't think you could take parts off again. So this seems to be something that they added to the game, and it just really gives you more option to adjust the gun to the situation you're in right now and kind of make tweaks as you go along, which is really cool, I think. And those are the 6 screenshots that we have been given, and now we're actually coming to all the details that have been released in the Game Informer story. A lot of it talks about the story, where it happens, and reveals some of the detail. I wouldn't call it a spoiler, but if you're really sensitive and you want to be surprised by the game and not know anything about it, then this is probably the point in time where you switch off. But in that case, you probably even have click the video because you want to know more details about the game. So first, released information. The game takes place in 2029, only 2 years after Human Revolution. So I think you can see that in the style, like I said before. All this stealth design, all the triangles is a direct continuation of the previous game. At the moment, the game is listed only as a single player game. There's no mentioning of a multiplayer game. That's not really a surprise. I don't think there will be a multiplayer unless they are working on it now. But to be honest, Deus Ex never was a multiplayer game, and I always just see it as a great story, and this world it all happens in is so rich that I don't really need a multiplayer in this game. Jensen is part of a covert government-sponsored task force called Task Force 29, a new branch of Interpol to combat a new breed of terrorism. And then directly related to this is Jensen doesn't fully trust Task Force 29. He also feeds intel into another covert organization called the Juggernaut Collective. So this is actually a little bit like the previous game, Human Revolution, where he was working for Serif Industries, but then he actually had to make a decision whether he wants to continue to support Serif Industries or kind of steer away from that a little bit. Don't want to spoil anything, but it seems like it's a similar story. And in the screenshots that we've seen before, also in the trailer, he is obviously fighting policemen or some kind of government force. So I would assume that there is some kind of break in the middle of the game at some point where he breaks away from the government task force and then maybe works for this so-called Juggernaut Collective. I don't know, it's all speculation at this point. In true Deus Ex fashion, you often receive conflicting missions, neither can be fully trusted. We know that from the previous game. Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? To be honest, I hated those because I always feel I'm making the wrong decision, and whatever I do, I feel like I'm missing out on the other end. But it's cool. I guess it's part of any modern RPG action game, however you want to classify this. But it will definitely add replayability to the game, so that's cool, and I like that. The boss encounters are designed in a way to allow players to approach it any way they want, stealth, full combat, etc. Because in the previous games, I think the boss encounters you couldn't solve with stealth. You always had to fight full on, and they were quite a pain in the ass, especially in the first version of the game that came out. So it's cool, they worked on that. Eidos won't comment on which ending it considers canon, but is trying to string together different parts of each ending for the overall background of Mankind Divided. So I guess there will be different types of endings that come out of what decisions you make in the game. Story is in many ways a story of redemption for Jensen. So that again is a continuation of the previous game, because in the previous game, like I said, he had to make this decision between the augments and the non-augments. In this game, he made his decision, and while in the previous game he kind of tried to save the world world. Now the world is in ashes, and it's even in a worse state than when he tried to save it. So he kind of gave up on that, and now he's just on this path of redemption. Going hand in hand with that, the story they're telling is building to events that take place in the original Deus Ex. So again, I think they're really trying very hard to kind of tie the whole universe of Deus Ex together more and create one compelling story that even incorporates the original Deus Ex game in one or the other way. So that remains to be seen how they'll do that. It's certainly an interesting approach. With mankind divided, they're exploring the original game's past. Is the depiction of past events from the original Deus Ex true? We will discover stuff we never knew before. So again, trying to reveal things and tie it back to the first game. Added a lot of diversity to the environments. I think we can see that in the screenshot. I personally found already the previous game, Human Revolution, was incredibly diverse. You had all these different locations like Detroit and Shanghai, and each one was different, you know, each one had its own character, and like I said, even they were a bit sterile at parts, I still felt there was quite a bit of diversity there. Now they're making it even more diverse, and that's great. I think that's a good thing. Looking at the screenshots, it also looks like they played quite a bit with vegetation and plants and greenery and maybe more parts that are overgrown and just like more of an organic, natural flow to the environment. So I think this is really a tool that can bring the whole story to life even more. So I'm really looking forward to this diversity of environments, as they call it. Females are now also part of the regular enemies in the game. Right, I don't know what to say to that. To be honest, I didn't miss females as my enemies in the previous game, but why not? There we go. Equality at its best. One of Jensen's missions taking him to the Utelek station in Prague, now a ghetto for augmented individuals. I do not know this station, but I assume it's a real station, and it also reveals that we will be in Prague. So in the trailer we've already seen 3 cities, and Prague was not one of them. So are there maybe more locations than just 3 cities this time? It is nicknamed Golem City, this station in Prague, and it's based on the real-life Kowloon Wall City. Complete awesomeness. Again, if you don't know what it is, Google it. You will not be disappointed. It's absolutely fascinating if you like science fiction. Shops line the streets, temporary housing units stacked on one another, reaching upwards towards the sky, claustrophobic atmosphere. This is basically what Kowloon Wall City is all about. Mission to track down a leader of an augmentation group, but police have captured the informant. You can then choose to butter up the informant's wife for clues or cause a scene with the police. Alternatively, Jensen can bypass the whole area of the game altogether and find the leader's hideout on his own. Then Jensen can engage in a tense conversation with the leader, resulting in a diplomatic solution or in violence. So you can kind of see how they try to put more emphasis on different ways of solving one and the same mission. So you have to find the guy. You can either go to the wife for clues, you can make a scene with the police, or you can do something completely different, find him on its own, and then again it's a diplomatic solution or it's a violent solution. So there are so many different ways, which again is great for replayability of the game. I think that's a very valid point. Transhumans, augmentations referred as clanks by the police. That's just a little detail. You can go full combat or full stealth throughout any part of the game. And that is cool. I mean, I'm not sure whether the previous game, Human Revolution, also could have been played completely in stealth. But if you really want to do that, it's next to impossible. There are so many scenes where you just have to use the guns. I don't think actually you could play it completely in stealth, so it's cool that it's an option in the next title. Side quests meant to be more meaningful. Example, players can choose to make deals with criminal organizations and its mob boss might call in a favor, later interrupting the main mission. So that's again another aspect how they want to mix up the gameplay. Doesn't want fetch quests. The team sees the extra quests as a way to explore the main themes of the game more deeply. So that's cool. And nobody likes these quests where it's like, oh yeah, just go there and pick this thing up and bring it back to me. Yes, you see more of the world, but after doing it once or twice, it's just not really something that people like. And then they go into a little bit more detail about the augmentations, and some of them we've seen in the trailer. Obviously, these are all augmentations that Jensen can unlock throughout the game. Tesla is the first one. Little darts pop out of Jensen's knuckles, allowing him to tag enemies and take them out quietly. So that's cool. I don't know if it's gonna kill them or they're just gonna be stunned. Who knows? Probably stunned, right? If it's little electricity knuckle darts or whatever. Silent Run is the next one. Allows Jensen to move quickly across any floor without making any sound. Can be combined with cloaking. That's cool. CASIE allows Jensen to analyze the mental state of individuals, helping him to respond respond adequately in conversations. So that can be useful when it comes to making decisions. Pep's gun, a new gun, non-lethal weapon that pops out of Jensen's bionic arm and fires a concussive blast, allowing him to knock an enemy out, kill him, or flee. We've seen that in the trailer. Watch the trailer if you want to see how that works. It looks really, really awesome. So these are the new augmentations that they have teasered, but they're also saying augmentations feature can be assigned on the D-pad for quicker selection, so that's another detail for all the console users out there. Augmentations consume a fixed amount of energy. While Jensen stops using them, he regains a portion of it. From the top of my head, I don't even recall. Did you have to recharge your energy? I think you did, right? It was kind of a similar mechanic in the previous game. You can still refill his augmentations with biocells. Yeah, that's how it was in the previous game. Eidos wants the recharge mechanic to encourage using augmentations more liberally. New remote hack augmentation allows Jensen to activate shortcuts through areas to pass to enemies. So that's another augmentation. No plan for Human Revolution saves to carry over, but Eidos is planning for a franchise now and wants to expand further after Human Revolution's success. So no taking over from save games like we've seen it in Mass Effect. But I guess I'm fine with that. That's alright. They might implement it in the next game after this one though. No plans for a Deus Ex MMO. I guess that was some rumors out there. I didn't even hear about that. But there you go, it's out of the way. Eidos noted that fans who played the previous game, I assume, stealthily enjoyed the game more, so spent several years iterating on gunplay. So I guess that's an insight that led them to making the whole game more stealthy in a way. Like I said, you can now stealth the whole game, so that might come out of an insight like that. Mankind Divided's moment-to-moment action plays out like a series of set-piece moments, a remarkable feature considering nothing is scripted. So that's interesting, but I guess that's also just a little bit of PR marketing, blah blah. Remains to be seen how that will actually work in the end. Jensen can adjust his weapons at any point mid-battle, changing ammo type, firing pattern, scope, etc. So that's what I said earlier when we looked at that screenshot. Now you can change your gun and your setup at any point in time. Some enemies have external tech like exoskeletons and mechs to combat Jensen. That's a new thing. I can imagine that's gonna be really annoying. These mech guys are gonna be very hard to take out, but nonetheless it's a cool idea, and maybe we can even get into one of these exoskeletons ourselves. Who knows, remains to be seen. Variety of enemies have a diversity of weapons, augmentations, or other high-tech combat tools. Some have high jump abilities. If you remember the screenshot, we've seen the stilts. I think those allow you to walk faster and jump higher. So I assume we can use that as well. Again, we might be able to implement augmentations like this. There are 2 more points. We're nearly there, guys. Focused on making AI more aggressive, flanking, etc. I guess generally the AI wasn't particularly clever in the previous game, but then again, in which game is the AI really clever? So it's cool to see that they've worked on it, that they're now flanking more, and I guess that's just the point they wanted to mention. Certain elements of the environment now react to combat. Again, linking back to the second screenshot we looked at in the beginning, where all the barrels fall down and like physics are affected by explosions. So there might be an element to it where you can actually change levels and have an impact the way you go through it, the way you use your guns to change the environment, open up ways, lock other ways. It's quite cool to have this kind of interactive element to the environment, guys, and that's the list. There's a lot of interesting stuff there, as you can probably hear. I'm majorly excited about this announcement. Everything in this list just sounds absolutely amazing. The trailer looked great, the screenshots look great, so I really can't wait to play Deus Ex Mankind Divided. So far it has been said that the game will only come out on PS4, Xbox One and PC. There obviously is no release date yet, but I've read a few guys estimating that it might still come out this year, which would be amazing. I think latest is like first half of the next year, so it is not that far away, guys. Anyway, guys, I'm sorry this has been a really long video, but there was just a lot of content to go through. If you made it to here, well done. Thank you very much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave me a like underneath if you did. Share your thoughts on all that stuff down in the comment section. It would be appreciated to kind of get a discussion going. I'd love to hear your thoughts. You can also subscribe to my channel for more. As I said, hope you enjoyed the video. Stay tuned, guys. See you next time, and I'm out. Bye.